man. Hey, baby, what the was I supposed to do? This jumped me from behind. It's an accident.
An accident?
Yeah, it's an accident. It's an accident.
Now, today we're going to be talking all things Tommy and Shanti. Where do they go from here? Now that she's officially done with Jannard after we witnessed one of the most funniest moments on Force, the bathroom scene. But what's next? How does Shanti help Tommy? Because I really do believe that she can be a very dangerous ally to have in his corner, and perhaps even someone that can help Tommy in the long term. Especially when Tommy goes off and does his thing with Tariq. Why not leave Chicago in capable hands like maybe Shanti? We'll definitely get around to that chapter towards the end, because Gary Lennon did tease something that kind of just makes me think, it really is possible. At the same time, Tommy needs to be very careful because of who Shanti is and what her plans were before, but that definitely has changed after episode 7. Their interests do align more so after the events of 307. So that's the topic of discussion in today's breakdown, the triangle between Jannard, Shanti and Tommy, how the structure and landscape looks very different going forward in Power Book 4 Force Season 3. Now we know about Shanti's original plans that date way back to Season 2. She wanted to get rid of both Tommy and Diamond so her and Jannard could take over CBI. She was very strategic in her approach, patient, played the right moves when they needed to be made. She got in close with Tommy, but still manipulating the situation from behind. The problem that she found in Season 3 was, she actually said it herself back in episode 2.
Blood is thicker than water, always.
Blood is thicker than water, which is something I don't always agree with, because we've seen what can happen in the world of Power. We've seen some crazy family kills across Power, Raising Kanan, Power Book 2 Ghost, but that's a running theme for Jannard and Diamond for this season of Force. And because of Jannard and Diamond's brotherhood, not only did Tommy lose out in this particular triangle between Jannard, Diamond and Tommy, Shanti lost as well. Once Jannard started to sway away from their original plans around DMAC, and once he started to follow Diamond, not Shanti, ever since we saw this happy romantic dinner back in 302, we knew it was never gonna last. But that's when she knew, and that's when this relationship was a ticking time bomb ever since. And why not just have Tommy ignite the fuse? Tommy lit a huge firework in episode 7, and you really do have to love the way Tommy twisted and played this game with two players who originally thought they were gonna kill him and take his organization. He really did have Jannard on strings with the way he set this up. And honestly, this bathroom scene was absolutely crazy. Jannard is one hell of a crazy character. And despite what we think of Jannard, we do have to give props to Chris Lofton because he is one hell of an actor and he definitely doesn't hold back with whatever he does. He hit Jade like she took his rent money. He was pouring champagne and everything. He's absolutely crazy, absolutely nuts. He definitely went off script, that's for sure. Just look at his face here, no holding back. But definitely one of the most entertaining characters that we've seen for a while on Power. Now the moment Shanti walked in, again, I posted this over on X because what a moment. She jumped in from behind. It was an accident. He made a judgment call.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
I mean, this scene had me absolutely dying, but you could definitely see how much Shanti was hurt. I do think she did care about Jannard, otherwise she wouldn't have been there when he was at his lowest point in Season 2. This was also very quick, if you guys didn't notice, but you did have Jannard rubbing his nose as well. He was definitely high and back on the product because Jade even mentioned that he bought every bit of what she had. In a rage, Shanti then smashed his Lambo and spilled a lot of secrets. Shanti was definitely holding on to a lot of information, and we all know information can sometimes be power, if used correctly. We know Shanti is a very strategic player, she said it back in episode 4. She was going back to do what she does best, boxing and playing chess, because for a moment, she was going down the wrong direction, but she was now course correcting. We saw her playing chess at the end of episode 4 because that's who she is. She's a very strategic character. She always thinks 3 moves ahead, but kind of just lacked that final bit of execution because Jannard was the wrong bet. But letting all these secret spills in episode 7 was definitely out of anger, frustration, hurt, pain, heartbreak, but definitely strategic at the same time. She told Tommy that Jannard was a junkie back in Season 2, and also how Jannard and Diamond planned to kill DMAC, which then set up Tommy versus Diamond and Tommy being kicked out of CBI. Letting that sort of information loose set up a chain of events that has completely flipped Chicago's power structure, and that's why information is power. That's why Shanti was holding on to some very powerful information, because the entire structure of Chicago's drug game has now changed going forward. Tommy's no longer with CBI, which no doubt also sets up the downfall of both Jannard and Diamond. But hold on to that thought, I'm going to come back to it in just a moment. First, we definitely have to discuss the other side of Shanti's character, because she definitely isn't no saint. She's done and said plenty behind Tommy's back as well, dating all the way back to season 2. She planned on killing Tommy and Diamond and taking CBI. She's also the one who strategically had this photo sent to Miguel Garcia that exposed his relationship with Maria. At the beginning of season 3, she was also planning on getting rid of both. She was involved in a different DMAC plan. She was involved in a lot of other shit, and we definitely can't forget that, because once a snake, always a snake. However, having said that, over the past few weeks, we have been talking a lot about Tommy and Shanti's relationship and how their interests may actually start to align. Well, now we're here at this moment. That's the situation we have going into episode 8. I get that Shanti has made moves behind Tommy's back. She did want him dead and she was very strategically playing behind Tommy's back. But all of a sudden, like I mentioned before, the entire power structure in Chicago has changed. The entire chess game has changed, and now we're in for a situation where we definitely will see unlikely alliances form, with this being one of them. It does also have to be said, Shanti can be a very dangerous character to have in your corner. She could be a very good ally for someone like Tommy, who is now a lone wolf. They still also have the Viagra Triangle business. I guess it's not much, but it is still something, and it is something they can continue to build on. Just like the episode 8 title, Build Back Better. And that's what Tommy will no doubt plan on doing with Shanti. Like her character or not, you definitely have to respect her hustle. And that's what Tommy likes about Shanti's character. He respects her hustle. She knows how to get shit done, like keeping the Viagra Triangle clubs on lock. We saw that in episode 307. She's a very strategic character, very methodical in the way she approaches situations. You then add it to Tommy's team, honestly it does spell danger for anybody they go up against. I did also make the point of how Raheem could still be a very valuable chess piece on Shanti's board if Tommy needs a way into the CBI. For example, when they come in all guns blazing in episode 9 on the CBI in the church, it looks like they've caught them completely off guard here. Is that information that maybe Raheem has fed to Shanti? CBI are going to be at this location at this time, meeting this connect or this crew, you can get the jump on them here. Raheem definitely is someone still to keep an eye on, as is Manny Fresh. Once she finds out that Janard is back on product, they're making a mess of CBI, her name and reputation will be on the line with Madame Wu. She did vouch for these guys in episode 6, and we can't forget that. So both Raheem and Manny Fresh, they may be side characters, but definitely worth keeping a close eye on. But that's how Shanti can be a very dangerous ally to have in Tommy's corner. She's someone who does get shit done, very strategic and very dangerous. She's a character who has worked against Tommy in the background before, but going forward, she doesn't really have any reason to want Tommy dead, because he's no longer a part of CBI. If anything, her partnering up with Tommy is probably the best thing for her going forward, because if she wants to take over Chicago's drug game, then Tommy is probably the best person to have by your side. He's done it before, he can definitely do it again. The infrastructure is already in place in Chicago with the coalition, the structure is set, the territory is set. All they kind of need to do is remove a few players and have this meeting with Che. Make sure you still got the Connect on board, that definitely is important. The Connect still needs to be on board with your vision, and then go for the kill. Go for CBI, take back the coalition, and maybe even team up with Miguel Garcia at the same time. So definitely looking forward to Tommy and Shanti teaming up now that their interests do somewhat align. I don't actually think Shanti has a reason to stab Tommy in his back going forward. For her interests, it's definitely best for them to work together, and if they do, eventually Tommy can give her what she wants, which is what we're going to be discussing next. Shanti surviving come the end and taking control of CBI. Now I do think it is time to do an updated death predictions video based on where we are in the season, and that definitely is on the cards for this particular week. The landscape has completely changed of the chessboard, some players are gone and no doubt others will as well. Apparently the penultimate episode is also a heartbreaker. But will Shanti Showstopper survive come the end of for season 3? Now initially I did have her on my death predictions that I did way back prior to season 3. We also went through a quote from Chris Lofton where he actually spoke about how he played the character of Janard, where the audience would actually question, could Janard really kill Shanti? That definitely is still an option, you never know, but at this point I probably do think it's unlikely, and I'd probably go as far as to saying maybe even the other way around. Same thing with this particular scene here. I did raise the possibility of Diamond shooting Shanti or also Kendra in my trailer breakdown for episode 8, but at the same time in my trailer breakdown I did say I was very conflicted on it being Shanti. I was actually in two minds. I actually think it kind of makes more sense for it to be Kendra, who refuses to run fentanyl through the prison system for Diamond, which then irritates him, and we know how reckless he's behaving at this moment in time. So Kendra could definitely make a lot of sense. It may even be a kill that potentially puts him back in prison. Who knows? I was also going through a lot of Gary Lennon's old quotes just to see if I kind of missed anything that he may have teased around Shanti's character, and I did actually come across one. This is what he said when he did an interview with the TV line. At the end of the day, I think you'll be very surprised who is standing and who is not. And what threads I do leave open, I can use them and pull them into anything else I want if I choose to down the line. Now, I do think this was a very interesting quote, which I think I'm bringing to you guys for the first time. He mentioned we'll be surprised as to who's standing come the end and what threads he decides to leave open should he want to use them later on down the line. And I really do wonder if Shanti could actually be one of those threads. This quote isn't specifically directed towards Shanti, it's a statement that could apply to a lot of players that do survive come the end, but he does have in the back of his mind him using characters later on down the line in the world of power. So could Shanti be one of them? Gary Lennon has previously mentioned that he's a true power historian as well, and we can definitely see it with what he's done with these 2 seasons of Force that he's been in charge of. There's been a lot of nods to OG power, little Easter eggs, conversations, mentions of Kanan, Ghost, the hallucination of Holly Weaver. He definitely is someone who does like to stay true to OG power, and honestly you can really tell with the way the season was written. But on Shanti, I do personally think she is a character who does have the potential to survive come the end, because of Gary Lennon's quote and how the landscape has changed in Chicago and will continue to change in these last 3 episodes. Shanti could very well end up being a very key player in Chicago. I think Janard and Diamond will be wiped off the map one way or another. I went through that in a lot of detail earlier this week, so if you haven't seen this breakdown, it definitely is a must watch. But I do think Janard and Diamond will be moved out the way, and then that paves the way for someone else to take control over part of Chicago. And why not have that be Shanti? I did raise the potential of Tommy being run out of Chicago at the end of season 3. We know law enforcement is hot on his heels. I think a new threat and danger will also emerge, which is probably why he has to call Tariq. And then there's Vic's envelope. But what if he doesn't even need to be in Chicago to run the city? What if he's still moving product for Che, but he now has Shanti in control over the CBI and their coalition, just like she intended? Both brothers have to be taken out one way or another, and when that happens, not if, I do think that leaves a huge power vacuum. So question, who fills that void? If Tommy's about to go and do his thing with Tariq in a new city, could that potentially be Shanti running things for him in Chicago, who finally gets that meet to Che? Could that be Shanti running things for Tommy with Tommy still at the top of the hierarchy? She gets what she wants, Tommy still wins and controls Chicago, but then he goes off and does what he needs to do with Tariq, which then also allows Shanti to potentially reappear in the world of power, just like Gary Lennon teased. He's left some loose ends open come the end of Force. Could Shanti actually be one of them? Could season 3 of Force end with Shanti actually getting what she wants, but with Tommy by her side instead, while Tommy then goes off to maybe New York, LA, or wherever Legacy will be held? Definitely food for thought. I do think that would be a very interesting ending, because at the end of the day, someone does have to take control over Chicago. Someone has to be running product for Che. There has to be at least someone who picks up what's left over from the coalition in Chicago. And with the connection that they've already got with Che and Tommy, Shanti could actually definitely be the one. So definitely food for thought. But that's a wrap for where we are with Tommy and Shanti at this moment in time, post episode 7. And also some predictions going into the home stretch. The landscape has definitely changed, and it was thanks to Shanti spilling some huge secrets in episode 7. And now that Tommy and Shanti's interests align, can they take back Chicago's drug game? The floor is now yours. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section on your thoughts on Gary Lennon's comments, and also Shanti potentially claiming the throne of Chicago under Tommy Egan. Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.